need to restart over? You want me to start it over, Heidi?
No, we're good.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Oh, continue. Okay, so is Brian ready?
I am.
Okay, Brian, you're up for the monthly report.
Okay. I did send the monthly report out last Friday. I'm hoping that y'all had an opportunity to peruse it, and I would be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
I have a comment.
Yes.
In the equipment and facilities section, your one on C under that. Actually, it's I think it's apparatus and equipment. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It says the process for purchasing replacement staff car, but so should it say in process for or working on replacing? It just sounded kind of funny. Maybe I read.
Well, it's kind of, we've got our capital repairs and replacement plan approved, and that was one of the items.
Yeah.
The delay really is the fact that the models have had a shortage of chips for all the computer equipment that goes in the automobiles. So actually DES suspended the automobile contracts. We probably won't see until next fall when the new models come out, it being reestablished. So that's what that meant. So we're kind of on hold until DES's inventory.
I mean, I understood that part. It just that the sentence looked weird.
It's missing a phrase.
Yeah, it's missing something.
Oh, okay. It's
a
on
verb
hold.
or something.
Stalled or yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Look, the verb that was missing meant that we're on hold. So.
So, I guess, Brian, my question is I'm looking at the goals and all that. Are we on, looks like we're complete. You started the first goals. Okay, readiness and response. And I'm just looking at how we're doing on all the goals, if they're staying on queue here, and looks like you got a lot of them in progress. And
Yeah, I think that most of we've gotten started. We've made some completions. I would say generally we're on track. Probably the ones that we're behind on are some of the officer training and the driver operator training. And that was a conversation that I've continued to have with our staff on it. So, and there's reasons for that too. Obviously, switching horses midstream with our training officer delayed some things. And then the fact that we put our current training officer on shift to fill a couple of holes will probably delay it even further. So I'm working with Brandon and his team on figuring out how we can put some more energy toward that.
okay, that sounds good.
Speaking of goals, I had a couple specific questions on goal number 3. And it's then item 2, which is also known as priority 3. And just the bullet underneath that, there was some of the language there that I didn't completely understand what it meant. When we say that the recruitment, evaluation, selection has been completed and will constitute a new process starting on 1st of June. I wasn't sure what that phrase meant, that it will constitute a new process.
Well, I'll ask Brandon to kind of explain that to us.
Sure, I guess
we're starting a new class, or is there?
To be a little more specific, we have a new application that we released on June 1st. But we have all the applicants that had processed before in the last, 6-12 months that we're still going to go through the testing and all the same way we had been. But the piece that we had changed is now the applicants, they apply, they still fill out our application, they add their driver's abstract and they keep their driver's license. But rather than doing our written test, we had a high school equivalency, multiple choice written in-house test that we would do. And now what we're doing is we're outsourcing that to South Puget Sound Community College for entry-level placement testing. And we've done work with Medic One and talked with the Fire Academy, and had meetings with South Puget Sound Community College to get a better placement test. We had a somewhat of a high, or I'd say unacceptable, or I wasn't happy with the washout rate we had on a lot of the times with people coming in. And we kind of pretty much looked at it to say, well, we've been testing people at a high school equivalency level, and then we send them into college level training. So we reassessed where we ought to be, and we compared that to more specific at a college level. So what they do now is they go and they take the test with South Puget Sound Community College, and then they attach that, their test scores to their application. And then also they get their CPAT, the physical test where they go do their firefighter challenge. They go to Public Safety or National, one of the other companies that do the actual CPAT, rather than us doing the in-house test that we used to do. So now the applicants essentially have a little more burden to get their testing done all up front as part of their application process. So we should be receiving a more complete application from them. And then we are left with the interview piece and the background check, and then we move forward from there. So to be fair, it wouldn't be appropriate, we didn't feel, to change that up on somebody who had already applied with our old application. So for this cycle, we're doing the last one of everybody who had applied previous to, well, up to 5 o'clock on June 1st. And then we pulled that application out, put a new application on. So from here forward, it'll be our new
Okay.
process. Yeah.
Thank you. That makes all the sense in the world to me. I appreciate it. The second question I had about that same topic is the next line where it says we expect to meet line level IR and R needs. What do we mean by line level? Does that just mean meeting the needs that we expect to have in the forecast?
Did you want to handle that, Brandon?
I'm actually going to the section you're reading right now on the goals. Help me out with what page you're reading on now.
It's in the goals number 3. I don't know the actual page.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
Page
goal,
7.
goal number 3.
Yeah, and then it's priority, or it's number 2, which is also priority 3 underneath that, and just the
Oh,
bullet
yeah.
underneath there.
Sure.
The
Volunteer
phrase
recruitment
line level, I
evaluation.
wasn't sure what that meant.
Yeah, well, what we're looking at is now is the volunteer program and all the programs that we have, is it meeting our IR and our response needs, our shift staffing, and it's pretty much the whole kind of all the work that we're already looking at and doing. It includes how is our recruitment, our evaluation, how is what we're doing, what we're changing, and how is that going to meet our needs and our goals, and kind of evaluating the whole program. I don't know if I'm paraphrasing it too short, Chief, but that's kind of the summary point, if that's the level you're looking for.
So to paraphrase it, what you mean is that it's expected to meet our forecasted need for volunteers.
Well, this one I understand is reviewing that, doing that assessment. Where and what are we meeting the ability to meet our IR and R needs? It's that whole assessment. Durability of diminishing applicant pools, increasing job performance requirements, the need for supervision, mentoring, economic, social health. This one, I understand the intent of this is us doing the assessment of that whole concept.
Okay, but I was reading the bullet to mean that we had assessed that it was going to meet our needs.
Yeah, I agree, Milt. The whole statement there is kind of confusing. And maybe you want to think about redrafting that because item B on that says work remains to occur to assess durability. What does that sentence mean? So you might want to think about what it is you're trying to explain there and just be a little more plain.
Okay, so suggestion of reviewing language of the goals.
Yeah, this piece seems to be an update of, where we are as of June 1, so this is sort of new stuff in here, but
I didn't realize it was different. I'm sorry.
well, I just don't know what that sentence means.
All right, Chief, did I not explain it very well?
Well, I think that somebody could use a little text editing here to try and just make it more clear. What is this sentence? Work remains to occur to assess durability. What does that mean to you?
Where are you seeing that? Because I'm not seeing that in that.
So under priority 3, I just.
33,
Existing
the
volunteer
bottom,
recruitment.
there's a
Improvement evaluation.
bullet, starts with the word existing volunteer recruitment evaluation / selection has been completed.
Will
And it goes on. And it's there's an A, existing volunteer selection is expected to meet line level IR&R needs. B, work remains to occur to assess durability. And C, work and assessment still needed to determine incentives and increased retention. I think I understand A and C. B doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, okay.
Brandon, maybe if you can explain what you intended to say there.
Work remains to occur to assess durability.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I guess just kind of overview it. A, existing volunteer selection meant to meet, so that's assessing that whole piece. Work remains to occur to assess the durability. Give me a minute to kind of reform the thought. It's been a
Well,
long
and I
day,
don't mind
sorry.
if you want to follow up later on.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah,
need
that's
to
fine.
be stuck and go round and round on this. If we want to do that, if you want to follow up later, I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's just that status bullet there, I found a little hard to follow. So
Yeah, I think
just an
that
update on
I think that's a fair
Okay.
question. I appreciate the time to
Um,
kind of rehash that.
Yeah.
The only other comment I had was that it looked like we had good progress on improving staffing at the station, and I appreciate that. And also want to acknowledge that though our overall our response percentage numbers look pretty good, it looked like we had a lot of calls that were pretty far out coming out of Station 81 last month, and it looked like one of those months where because of the anomalies that you get with a few calls, it just takes a handful that are further away from the station to change the numbers significantly. So appreciate.
Probably note that the majority of them were in Station 82's area.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But there were even the ones that were in the Station 81 area were like way out, like way out by the park out there.
So Chief, how are you doing? Well, with Jake being off, are you guys able to manage the shifts and everything? Have you had volunteers step up and help fill in some of the gaps, or?
Well, we've kind of, we transferred Sean Mahoney into Jake's shift position temporarily until Jake can come back
Mhm.
to make sure that we're continuing the training. I think our biggest deficit was with Chris Pulowski, and then later with Jake being out for rather extended periods of time. We took a pretty good hit on our training that wasn't being delivered. So we wanted to make sure that we got somebody in there to catch the three shifts that lost their lieutenant, if you will, trained up. The penalty probably is during the day shift. We've been down to two-person companies, which tends to be a little uncomfortable, but it's what we need to do. So I think we're squeezing by. We're still in an overtime situation
Mhm.
to some degree. So it's not great. And I would sure not like to see another person go out on extended sick leave now, because we would begin to hurt.
Yeah,
We're not a large crew anyway.
Yeah.
And when you're working and covering 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it can get pretty thin. So,
yeah.
but we're holding our own at this point, and wishing Jake good luck and get healthy. So
No, he's working at it. He's bored to death. He's ready to get back to work, but unfortunately, until the doctor releases him, he can't.
sure.
Oh.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions on the monthly report?
No, it looks good.
None here. Thank you.
You bet. Oh, I guess on the agenda, the only other thing I have is, and you all know, is that we decided to postpone the Station 81 septic upgrade project. This is just really not a good environment right now to be going out to bid for construction projects. The two bids that we received from the same two bidders were not cost effective. So I did forward our recommendation that came from Steve Hatton, that if we're careful, we can monitor it and limp it along for some point. At some point, we'll need to do this work, but hopefully it can be done in a better market situation. So, and I think that's all I have.
Okay. So now Heidi's turn.
Yeah, so
Potential.
I stumbled on something that was on the Lacey Fire website, and I gave them a call and asked them about it. And long story short, it's a program that they are launching, but they actually haven't put into place. They're still working on it. And I did some inquiry about the program, and because it's fascinating, and I'd love to see us do the same thing. Basically, I'll tell you real briefly about the program. It's called Seniors Safe at Home, and it's a community risk reduction program that's aimed at mitigating fall risks and reducing hazards for independent seniors. And essentially what the program is in a nutshell is where they are going to have volunteers that are non-career volunteers, but volunteers that are trained appropriately to go into a senior citizen's home with a pre-designed checklist, and to go through the checklist and check the person's home and make recommendations, suggestions for things they could do to improve the living environment. And also they're taking it a step further, where they're actually going to provide some of the materials that would be necessary to improve their home. And now, I'm not saying that we would copy it exactly, but I was interested in how they're doing it. And I asked them, would it be a program that we could maybe piggyback on and do as well? But they haven't really launched it. They're still trying to put it together. So it's still in that, it's still in the scheduling phase. And the cost, they even have a budget that they established, and we could qualify, I'm sure, for some mini grants to help defray some of those costs. But here's a few examples of things, the recommendations. Clearly, we're doing some of these things already. Providing house numbers for their streets, suggesting that electric outlets have moisture covers over them, checking their landscaping for overgrowth. That would be an exterior assistance. Interior would be smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, et cetera. Making sure that windows open if they needed to get out. Night lights, motion lights, positioning of small appliances, of course, rugs, that goes without saying. Maybe having a grab bar in their shower, that kind of thing. So the expenses that they would be paying for would be perhaps to provide them with a CO2 detector, a smoke alarm, batteries if they needed it, the grab bars, and installing the grab bars, which I'm kind of like, ugh, that's a little bit more work than just going in there and making an assessment. But that's their proposition, how they're going to hopefully do the program.
There are grab bars available that are suction based.
Oh,
We actually
okay.
got one for my sister-in-law
Okay.
and did that. So that's, yeah. So the installation there is,
Wouldn't
putting
be
it
as
in the right
challenging then.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I sort of agree with you. Yeah, actually
But it's
drilling
like-
into the wall and having
Right.
one mounted, problematic.
so I talked to the chief about this, and truly the biggest obstacle for either department is going to be who are the volunteers that are going to perform these duties, if we can have it outlined. And assuming that we could get a cadre of folks that were interested, scheduling it, because we would want to send 2 people at a time, they wouldn't go by themselves, and just managing the scheduling and that kind of thing. And I would be more than happy to be the person that would do that scheduling, that is. But again, it goes back to who would be the volunteers. So I'm just throwing this out to you guys as a concept that we're exploring right now. Now, Lacey is planning on using their non-response volunteers to do this. It would not be their regular responders. And we don't really have a big group of folks that would be interested in that, but that's not to say that we couldn't throw it out there and see who may be interested in something like this. And if you're interested in more information, I'm happy to email you some of the paperwork and whatnot that was sent to me that might explain it a little bit more.
I guess the biggest concern that I have is, how do you contact the people to do the assessment? Who
Great
would,
question. So what we're going to do, what we would do in that regard is, first of all, we would advertise it in our community newsletter, which would be a great resource, but also not everybody's going to see that. But one thing that we have done, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I created these packets that are on all the engines, and they have handouts and flyers and such. And in theory, when they go on a call, if it's a call where there's a fall involved, they would give them a flyer that pertains to preventing falls. There's a bunch of flyers depending on what kind of call they go on. And so that would be another option, that any senior citizen, that if we went on a call, we would give them a little trifold that would explain that this program was available to them. So it would be probably a combination of that and the newsletter, more than likely.
Well, you could put it on Nextdoor and things like that.
We could put it on Nextdoor, yep. And we could
I
put it
don't
on the
know-
reader board. All the resources that we have, we could advertise it once we've put it into place.
And Dan, I don't know if this still goes on at Seashore Villa, but we used to, once a year or so, somebody from the department would go there and just do a kind of a town hall meeting with people and
We can
answer questions. And
We actually were going
bring
to,
it up.
we
then.
were,
Yeah.
we were going to do that before COVID. And I think Rich was actually doing a little bit of that before he retired. But yes, that was on our radar, to meet with the different homeowner groups
Mhm.
and, tell them what we have to offer to help them.
Yeah, Richard told me he had in the past been fairly active in doing that, and
Mhm.
here, especially here in our neighborhood.
Right. But now we've got you, Dan, so
Yeah.
you would take that over, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
So
Well, I
what's
think
your,
it's
what
a-
are, any questions or what are your thoughts on exploring this program further?
Well, I personally think it's a good idea because, having elderly parents myself, it would be a nice thing because they think they know all the needs that they need, but when in reality, there's a lot more needs that they need to look at than just grab bars and smoke alarms, kind of thing. So if it can get organized and be done, I think it would be a good community involvement thing for the department to do.
I agree, and I think that it would be a great thing to advertise to recruit people from the community who could participate in this as volunteers. It would be a great way to draw people in, because I'm sure there are people who want to volunteer but don't want to make the commitment to be a full-fledged firefighter. So it could be a great way of connecting our community, people who can provide help, people who need help. bringing them to life.
Volunteer to help, but not be a firefighter.
So
Mhm.
I love it. So
All right, well, we'll explore that further then. I think
Okay.
our biggest challenge, like I said, is it won't be hard to launch something like this. What would be harder is to confirm that we have valid volunteers that can follow through on it. We don't want to advertise something that we have nobody to actually
Right.
complete the process with,
Right.
so.
yeah, and I think there's an important part of the process, which is the follow through, to make sure, okay, we did the checklist and here are the things that we said should be done. Let's go back there 3 months later and see where are we at. Did all that get done or what have you? So you don't just check off the box and be on your way.
It's a
Well,
good
if
start.
wouldn't mind even volunteering like maybe 1 day a week to help with something like that
That
also.
would be
'Cause
great, yeah, okay.
I think it would be good to see that some of the commissioners, if they could give a day once in a while to help with something like that, would show that, we're not just out here listening and not really doing anything. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I would be more than happy because I'm off on Mondays and Wednesdays and things
we
keep
could
going
certainly
right. I
even
might be able to
schedule it.
retire sooner.
Right, and most seniors are pretty flexible with their time, so we could even say that these services are available 2 days a week or
Yeah.
whatever we decide it to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Dan, did you have
Okay.
something else to add?
No, I would just say I'd be willing to volunteer to do the same.
Great.
Step up and do some inspections, take a look at things, make some advice.
Awesome.
I
Okay.
can too, depending on what's going on. If it's not set in stone, because with Mark and medical, we're all over the place for now.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good, Heidi. Anybody else have
Good.
any more comments on this?
The only thing I might say is, could I get a link to that site that you found then?
Sure, I will forward to the whole board the documents. I didn't want to send them out before having this conversation. But now that we've talked about it, I'll go ahead and send those out to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
So next is Heidi, the minutes and the warrants.
Yeah. So I did, for the first time in a long time, I sent the minutes out and nobody gave any recommended edits. Milt?
I saved mine for the meeting. I have one thing that I would suggest that we make a correction on, and it's just on the executive session. It says that we convened the executive session at 6:07 and estimated that the time was going to be 10 minutes. And then at 6:15, we concluded. My recollection is that it was actually 6:17 when we concluded. And I don't want to also don't want to run afoul of the auditor for ending a executive session. I guess we can't end it before we said we were going to. So I would propose just changing.
Well, I think you can, I think there's
a.
if we ended it 2 minutes early, I don't think we're going to be called on that.
Okay,
I think it would, yeah, I don't think 2 minutes is going to be an infraction,
all right.
but I could change it.
Well, you're the one who has to talk with the auditor about it. So.
Yeah. Which reminds me, that's a good segue. Well, I have been contacted by the auditor, and I haven't shared this with Brian. I was going to tell him tomorrow, but we're going to be audited at some point, probably November or December this year. And I have no idea what we're being audited on, but they have tentatively let me know that they'll be reaching out to me at some point for that.
Don't they audit you every so many years anyways? Just, yeah.
On a
So-
regular basis, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to approve the minutes, correct? So do I hear a
Yes.
motion?
A motion that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Get them all.
Okay. Approved.
So do we have any questions on the warrants? I'll do my best to answer them.
I did not have any.
I don't.
None.
Anybody else? Any questions on the warrants? If we don't have any questions, then we need a motion to approve the warrants.
I'll move to approve that I'll move to approve. I'll ask that we move to approve the way they are currently written.
Do we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Are you opposed, Daniel, or
no,
you're in
no,
favor? Okay.
I'm just late to the party.
Okay. I saw the hand go up, so I just got to verify.
We're going too fast.
So warrants are approved.
So the next thing I was going to share with you is, if you recall, in January, we had on our agenda to approve the conferences and travel for 2021. And we ended up tabling the item because all of the events that were proposed were either hadn't been scheduled or had been canceled and such. Well, I'm revisiting it today simply because the actual two things that we need to be approved would be the board and the chiefs attending the fire commissioners conference and at the Tulalip Resort in October. And then I believe that the fire chiefs admin group is going to also offer a conference, although they've given us a save the date, but they haven't given us any information. But if it does end up, both myself and Janet would like to attend that. So I was bringing this to the table for board approval.
I thought that we approved this once before. Maybe we just talked about it and didn't make a decision.
I think you did. You just talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah, the issue was that we didn't know what conferences would actually be happening because of COVID and how quickly things were going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that those two activities, they seem pretty certain that something will happen there, and we've already got hotel reservations.
Yeah.
So that we have a space if in fact it does happen. So I would suggest we approve.
Are you making a motion, Doug?
I'll move that we approve the two conferences that were identified.
For October. And do we get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Heidi, it's done.
So I've got two announcements to make. And you probably already know this because we did send this out, but a reminder that on the 13th is the graduation for the Fire Academy, and it's going to be held in person at South Puget Sound Community College in near Building 22. I believe everybody received the invitation and the map, so just a reminder on that. And also a reminder that I sent out the draft newsletter. I did get some recommended edits which have been implemented. And I sent it to the printer. So we are working on getting that taken care of, and it'll take a little while, but they'll get it printed and mailed out.
When did you mail that thing about the graduations out? Was it an email or was it mail?
It was an email. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can resend it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll resend it.
I don't remember seeing that. And I'm pretty
Yeah,
good about looking at my emails.
I got it.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I thought I did print it. It's for, yeah, it's at 2 p.m. June 13th at 2 p.m. South Puget Sound Community College.
Okay.
One thing to bear in mind is that it is outside in the plaza. And there are limited seating. If you're inclined to sit through a process like this, you might want to bring your own chair. So there are 100 chairs that are available. Most of that will go to honored guests, I guess. So just bear that in mind.
Oh, so they're having that on a Sunday.
Yeah, this is kind of an experiment. Seemed like the other 6 days were never good, and we're going to try 7th day and see if it works any better for folks to schedule. So summer's usually a disaster anyway, but anyway, so.
And how many graduates do we have from our department? Do we know?
5.
Five.
Brandon knows.
Brandon said 5.
I from fire.
And our own Sean Mahoney is the superintendent for the Recruit Academy too. So it's
Okay.
still sort of a homegrown affair. So.
Cool. Very good.
May I have a moment to go back to the question that was asked earlier?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I'll still come clean on some better language, but I finally had my flashback of what I was thinking when I wrote it. And the intent was, the question was asking about work remains to occur to assess the durability. And well, I see that the language isn't very good, but my intent was to reference part B above was durability from diminishing applicant pools, increasing job performance requirements, and the need for supervision and mentoring the economic and social health of pandemic conditions. That was the B of there. And I was just trying to summarize the fact that, yeah, that we still need to work on that whole line. So the durability of all of that, my intent was, yeah, I don't really know what all that means yet. So I was just saying we still need to kind of figure out what all that means. That was my intent, but I can see how the language was confusing now.
Great, thank you.
Is it fair enough that next month I'll come up with something a little cleaner?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good. Any more on the graduation, Heidi?
Nope.
Okay. Commissioners' comments. I just want to say, I looked over the newsletter. It looked really nice, Heidi. You guys did a really good job. I like the safety tips section and definitely the burn ban. That is a definite nice thing to add in there, because I always have people ask me, when is the burn ban? You know, kind of thing. So especially my husband, I have to remind him. Don't want the husband of the fire commissioner to be burning stuff when he's not supposed to. Anybody else comments?
Well, I'll just pile on to that. I greatly appreciate the newsletter. I think it looks really sharp. I also want to recognize the post that Heidi's doing on Nextdoor. I think that is the best vehicle that we've got to connect with so much of our community. And really, really appreciate the effort that's going on with that. I think that'll pay huge dividends for the department.
I'm going to do a little exploration on best practices for using that, because they do have resources for agencies and how they can use Nextdoor. I know that there's even options for polls and things like that. So
Mhm.
I'll research that and find out how we can better take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I know like emergency management will sometimes put something out there that's more of a, like an emergency notice awareness kind of thing. And we might not have that very often, but occasionally we might. So it might be good to know how to use it for that kind of stuff.
There was one other thing that you sent out just today about some lady that responded about the
Oh,
insurance.
yeah.
That was a great thing that we, that you guys did and got notified the citizens, because somebody took advantage of that and got their insurance reduced. That's really good. So I think going the Nextdoor is a good resource for all of this. And also I would probably say put the burn ban thing on the Nextdoor neighbor also, because even if
Yeah.
it doesn't, if it reaches our area, it might also reach other areas too. So
I plan to mimic anything I put in the newsletter also on Nextdoor, just in case, and anything else I can find. So
yeah, sounds good. Okay, any more comments?
If I may, last I attended the Thurston County Fire Commissioners Association, and they're drafting a letter to send to the Washington Fire Commissioners Association in regards to insurances for the firefighters around the area, to make sure everybody gets their. They want to upgrade the physicals for many of the firefighters. And they're in drafting this letter, they're going to have it ready and available for approval at the next Thurston County meeting, and hopefully they'll get as many commissioners as possible to take a look at that letter. It'll be sent out to Washington commissioners on our behalf.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that update.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we're at a review and follow-up.
The only thing I have down is following up on the monthly reports and the verbiage and so forth. We'll work on that. And then also the registration and approval for the conferences that we've approved. So that's the only thing I noted.
And Heidi will continue to research the senior safe at home program.
yeah, and I'm going to send those documents out to you all so you can have an opportunity to read over what I'm thinking.
The therapy department that I worked in for 25 years used to go, they'd send therapists and occupational therapists out to people's homes if they were a patient and were experiencing falls, or they were worried about their mobility in a home, they would go do that. So it's really a great program.
Okay, so we're not going to adjourn. We're going to recess for an exempt meeting, non-public discussion, labor issue discussion, no resulting board action, provision of RCW 42.30.140 OPMA. And that will take approximately,
Well, this is actually, we are adjourning the open public meeting. This is an exempt meeting, so it's
okay,
not.
so we're, oh, I was going by Heidi's thing, so we were
Yeah.
doing the adjourn.
You don't have to announce the time or anything. It's not an executive session. It's
Oh.
an exempt, non-public meeting
Okay,
at the
I was
conclusion.
just following her notes.